Hi friends. If you're a developer who's learning Figma or a designer who wants to see it from the dev point of view, this video is for you.
So in most cases, you're going to get a link to a section. This is a section. You can twirl that down, then you have a frame, which is the frame of the site, and now you can see your layer stack. It's like Photoshop in most programs, so I feel like you're pretty familiar with it. And that's the layers panel. From there, I'd like to move on to a couple different tools. This is your selection tool. The default setting allows you to drill down and select specific elements. But if you'd like to grab something broader, you can use Command on a Mac or Control on a PC, and it will grab bigger elements. But again, the default will drill down so you can grab specific items, and that's the selection tool. If you have other frames, you can grab the hand tool. The shortcut is H. The shortcut for the selection tool is V, or you can just hold the space bar and let go of the space bar. Then you'll have access to the selection tool as well as the hand tool. The last tool up here is going to be the comment tool. Sometimes a lot of things may be marked up and you want to hide it. So over here in the view panel, you can see a bunch of different things. If people are working on this file and their cursors are getting in the way, you can hide that, and I'll show you what that looks like. So here's my cursor in the design system, and that's Daniel. I can turn multiplayers off, and now if I'm moving this, you can't see it at all. But I'm gonna turn that back on. And below that you saw comments. So I can turn comments on and off with Shift-C, and there are your comments. So if I go back to comments, now I can see them because I'm in comment mode and they're over here. If I want to reply, I can click there and write whatever I need to. And then the other person can resolve it, or you can resolve it. I don't know what your workflow is. From the comments, we're gonna move on into inspect. Inspect is where you have more than a couple things. So I don't specifically want this image instance, and an instance is an instance of a component, just so you all know. But if I grab the parent instance, now we can look at everything. So there's going to be instructions for designers. There also may be dev notes in here. More important is the documentation. So I have a link right here to documentation. And that brings me to the documentation that you're going to need for that specific component. Here's the desktop. Here's the mobile, and I'm gonna go back. To continue on with inspect, you have your component properties, your regular properties, the effects, and here's where all your code lives. And you have drop downs for CSS, Android, and iOS. Let's move on to export. I'd like to go through this in 3 levels, because there is a best case scenario, a worst case scenario, and things that you just can't do when you're extracting assets. And since we're already there, let's start out with a best case scenario. This is a component with component properties. Component properties are awesome and they're going to help you out a lot. The reason why is this is an expandable card, so you can't see the body copy unless you grab this and you go into presentation mode. Now we'll scroll down, expand the card, and you can see the copy. You can also comment when you're in presentation mode. So you hit C, or you can just come up here and use your mouse, and then you can comment. You can also tag people by using the @ symbol, and add an emoji if you want. And there we are. So let's get out of this tab, because I'm sure you don't want to remember and write down and copy. And component properties are why this is a best case scenario, because it allows you to actually copy. Regular cards don't. If your designers aren't using component properties, I suggest you check them out. It makes everybody's life easier, and the card is in the upper right hand corner. So I'm going to scroll down, and I also have my layers named. This is very, very important for ease of use and speed of workflow. I can come down here, I have the component selected, I can see that the component property says body copy, and all I have to do is click, and you see that notification down there. It's copied to my clipboard. So this makes everything easier. Now, if I didn't name my layers, then this would be a worst case scenario, but it's still difficult because you have to make a direct selection through the layer stack or with the selection tool. Now, if this was a collapsed expandable card with no component properties, your only option would be to go through the layer stack. You couldn't direct select it, but now that I have this selected, I can hit the copy icon to copy. So now that's copied, you can see the notification. The image is going to be slightly different because now we have to move on from the Inspect tab to the Export tab. One last thing in Inspect. You can see that I grabbed an element inside of the component. You can use this target to grab the parent component. So I'm going to do that again with an expandable card. I'm just going to grab something inside of that instance or component, hit the target, and now I've grabbed the entire component. Let's select the image again. We'll get back to export. I'm going to plus. You can add multiple versions if I wanted a ×1 or a ×2. That's right there. I can preview what's going on. And now I can export. And here's a scenario that just won't work, and that's the hero image. So I have my hero, I'm going to press plus, and everything's baked in now. Because me, as the designer, I put the image on the frame. So now you have the headline and the copy baked into the image, which is not what you want. So if you see this, please let your designers know. And if you'd like to know more best practices, or if you'd like to share best practices with your designers, please check out the card in the upper right-hand corner, and I have content on that as well. But essentially, this is how you want to see things set up with the image on its very own layer. And that's your best case, worst case, and flat out no-go situations for components.
I hope that was helpful, and I want this to be a tool for future use, so I've added chapters so you can skip to the sections that you need, along with the links of the additional content that I had mentioned. Please like, share, subscribe. Bye, friends.